All right, so this is going to be my list for the worst movies of last year. I usually try to get this up uh, like the last day of that current year. I had stuff going on. I've had stuff going on lately, like a lot. That's why I haven't uploaded as much. I'm going to fix that, I promise. But anyway, my eyes are a little bit red. I don't know why. Hopefully, that's not too distracting. But like we did last year, and I think the year before that, we're going to start off with the best list first. So I don't have any honorable mentions this year. So the best list first, we're starting off with, I got six. Starting off with number six, Knock at the Cabin. It's a surprise to me that this was as good as it was and that it made it on this list because I hate M. Night Shyamalan. I can't stand him pretty much ever since The Last Airbender. He just makes terrible movies, right? I kind of give him a pass with Old, but that wasn't good either. But this one, it was interesting. I like the premise. The family, the two dads and their daughter, having these strangers come in and tell them like, yeah, you have to make this choice. And of course, they're not going to believe it at first. It's like, okay, this is some cult shit, right? But they're showing things on the TV, and so it's making it seem more believable. Even though the CGI for some of it is bad, and the planes falling from the sky, they came off as ridiculous. There's plenty of tension. It's very suspenseful. The performances are all great, except for one, M. Night Shyamalan. For whatever reason, he needs to shove himself in these movies. I think he was on the TV for a little while, if I remember right. Not good. He's not a good actor. I don't know why he always forces himself in these things. But Dave Bautista was fantastic. He's easily the standout. I think it played out really well, and I like the way that it ended too. I was satisfied by the time I walked out. So there you go, M. Night. That's an actual good movie. Hopefully he keeps it up. Number five is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I watched for the first time the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons with Marlon Wayans in it. It's terrible. It's honestly, and Jeremy Irons just hamming it up so much. Honestly, one of the worst movies I've probably ever seen. So going into this, even though it looked better from the trailer, I wasn't expecting all that much. But I was surprised. It was really good. I'm not a D&D fan, right? There's a lot of words being thrown out there and thrown around that I didn't really get. And so, the world itself, I didn't get a full grasp of because I was, there's a lot of exposition and terms being thrown out there. But I really like this cast of characters. I think the cast is really good. Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez are great. They have a lot of really great comedic moments together, and I like seeing them go on this adventure and getting to know them and their interactions and them coming up with plans and their plans not really working out, so they have to like kind of make things up on the fly, and it was just a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. And then number four is Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I didn't I think that an MCU movie would make my best list maybe ever again with everything they've been putting out since Endgame. I think Endgame was the last movie that I put on a best list from the MCU. But James Gunn pulls it off once again. This is better than Volume 2. Not quite as good as Volume 1, but the backstory with Rocket, heartbreaking, right? That was so well told. Seeing him kind of have this kind of father figure that he looks up to, the high evolutionary that made him the way that he is. And him finding out just how expendable him and his friends are, and that whole thing when he finally leaves, and this is spoilers, his friends get killed, and that was a really heartbreaking moment. That's all great. Like even just that alone, like if it was just like a special or something like that, is fantastic. But even with the sad tone with the rest of the Guardians trying to help Rocket, it's still a lot of fun when they go to that facility to get the records and all that, all the crazy design of the place, the crazy costume design, and things just going nuts and like getting chaotic. Mantis making people dance and shoot around and things like that. It's still fun. It's still able to have that fun tone and get these moments with these characters that I love. It was great. It really was. Number three is Creed 3. I thought this was going to be my number one for a while. The personal stuff with Jonathan Majors aside, Jonathan Majors he's a good actor, regardless of personal stuff. He's the best part of Ant-Man 3. He wasn't able to save it, but best part of that. And he's one of the best parts of this. I think him and Michael B. Jordan do a great job with these characters, Adonis, and I think the other character's name was Damien. The drama between these two and the setup of it and seeing the flashbacks, you see them a little bit at a time before you get the full picture. I think that's all great because you have to sell this friendship. You have to sell that this happening, right? I don't think this character is ever mentioned in the other two, so you really got to build it up in this movie and make it feel like something, because the final fight is really reliant on that setup. And I think they did a great job with it. There's certain things that I was like, okay, this feels a little forced, right? Where he gets to fight the guy that Adonis is training, because he hired somebody to come in and break Drago's son's hand, who was supposed to fight that guy. It's like, okay, this kind of feels forced. And Rocky's missing. That's the biggest thing. That's the big thing, is Rocky not being there after you've set up this relationship between those two so well in these other movies. Uh, but I still think it works by the end, right? It's very cinematic, and it's the best cinematography that we've gotten in the Creed movies up to this point. And Michael B. Jordan directing, I think he does a great job. That final fight is great. The build up, really works for it, and you're really there, and like the choreography of the fight itself and the way it plays out, it played out so well. So that was another great one. And number two, and this is a surprise that it was as good as it was, and it made it on this list. Evil Dead Rise. I was into it pretty much from the beginning. When that girl got her hair snatched off, I was like, okay, it's going to be this kind of movie, right? I liked the characters. The actress that played the mom is fantastic. I think she really makes the movie work with the physicality of it and everything when she gets possessed. The violence, the gore, the blood. I mean, they're drenched in blood by the end. It is crazy when she gets in the hallway and she bites someone's eye out and spits it into somebody else's mouth, and it's crazy. It's chaos. I'm thinking, okay, these are young kids. They're probably not going to go too hard on these kids. Nah, people are getting set on fire and throwing up black bugs and all kinds of craziness. It was like one crazy thing after another. And even when nothing's happening, the cinematography, the score, it really helps to build things up, so oh shit, something's about to happen. I thought it was great. I pretty much loved every part of it, just about. There's that really dumb moment with the girl opening up the door for the mom when she's clearly fucked up. It's like, I get this is a really small girl, but she still looks insane and monstrous out there. You think she would even be afraid to even open the door, even though it's her mom. You could have made that a little bit more believable. So there's maybe little moments like that, and some of the CGI sometimes wasn't great. But for the most part, I think it works. And number one is Oppenheimer. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, but man, this movie is really good. I think it's one of his best ones. I mean, I was in it from the beginning all the way to the end, even though it's a bit long. All the performances are great, but the main thing that really makes it work as well as it does is just how great Cillian Murphy is. I mean, you get every emotion from this guy, not just from his line delivery, but just from his face. I mean, just his face is doing so much work to sell you on this character and everything that's going on, and the turmoil that he's going through internally, and the remorse that he feels for what he's done, what he's been a part of with the Manhattan Project, and the atomic bomb, and everything going on in the aftermath with Robert Downey Jr. and everything, the H bomb, and the Red Scare stuff, the hearings of him being a suspected communist because of his ties to communism in the past. All of it just so well done, right? I had very little to complain about by the end. It's a little bit messy, right? It could be cleaned up a little bit more with the black and white. Didn't feel like it was all that purposeful, but yeah, beautiful. Great cinematography. Obviously the explosions, fantastic. The thing that really sold it for me was when they finally do the Trinity test, and it's so well built up. There's so much fantastic tension, and it feels like you're right there with them. You really do, and you're anticipating them pressing that button, right? Your heart stops. It's fantastic, right? This movie is fantastic. You could clean it up a little bit, you could tighten it up a little bit, take some of the scenes out, maybe clean it up a bit. But like I said, I think this is one of Christopher Nolan's best movies, and I loved it. We're going to get into the worst now. This is where I get to really go in. So, number 10, and I think this was the first movie I gave a negative review to. No honorable mentions, like I said. You People. This was I guess you could call it a comedy, with Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill on Netflix earlier in the year. And it just, It's terrible. It really is. You hate every single one of these characters. The movie feels longer than it is because there's so many scenes of nonsense that doesn't really necessarily need to be there, and it's so obviously a bunch of ad lib. Jonah Hill going back and forth with the person he has the podcast with about is he certified lover boy Drake and all this other nonsense. There's a whole thing where I guess his dentist wanted to go into another room and look at his dick for some reason. And the whole thing about him planning to quit his job, which doesn't really play into anything. I guess he wanted to do the podcast full time, but they didn't do much. They didn't cause much drama in the relationship or anything with that unnecessary. We spend time on that instead of fully developing the romance. Most of that is in montage or off screen. So then you don't really get that setup. And it's even worse because Lauren London and Jonah Hill don't have any chemistry. So when things are going bad and everybody's acting like an asshole, you're rooting for them to break up, and you don't want them to come back to get back together. It's just, it's nonsense. The white family is doing real cringy nonsense. The dad playing ordinary people on the piano, and they're just kind of naming black people they know. Could work, but it's so heavy-handed. It comes off as like really cringy and annoying. And Eddie Murphy's character, who was potentially a fraud because his name actually wasn't, what was it? I can't remember what it was, but it was a Muslim name, and apparently that wasn't his real name. It was Woody or something like that. Something that's nowhere near like that. But they didn't do anything with that. I mean, they're just being so bad to each other, right? Jonah Hill's saying nonsense, right? You're meeting your black potential parents-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law. You bring them to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. It's like, it's nonsense. Like, he has a hip hop podcast or black centric podcast with his black co-host. He knows not to do stuff like that, right? It's just nonsense. It's not funny at all. Like, every now and then you'll get a chuckle, but it's really not funny at all. So it's like, okay, it's actually trying to say something, have a message. And other than one scene where the mother-in-law or the mother of Jonah Hill tries to stand up for Lauren London's character, even though there was no racism that had been done, she's just virtue signaling. Other than that, it doesn't really work. You got Eddie Murphy's character bringing up Farrakhan when he's sitting at the table with his future son-in-law's parents and their family who are Jewish, and he knows that. And they're arguing which was worse, the Holocaust or slavery and things like that. It's like, you could have something poignant here, but you don't. And then that goes straight from that to some nonsense of them going around, because I think his Muslim hat set on fire or something like that. It's lame. The movie tries to have this message about not judging people by their skin, but then you have these characters that are blatant stereotypes. Andrew Schultz comes in to say that he was there January 6th and calling Jonah Hill a liberal cuck. Young Miami's there to be like, oh girl, you dating this white man and da da da. It's just blatant stereotypes. But this movie decides that, oh no, that's our message. Yeah, that's you people. That's number 10. Number 9, I think this was the second movie I gave a negative review to. House Party 2023. Completely unnecessary. It's thrown together. The writing is terrible. Makes no sense. The script falls apart pretty much from the beginning. Cal Maddock, I guess is his name, directed it. He's only directed music videos as far as I know, and it shows. You could get past the stuff that doesn't make sense. The fact that they somehow don't know that this is LeBron James' place. The fact that they don't know that it's LeBron James' place the minute they walk in. They have to go all the way to his trophy room to even see a picture of the guy, even though he has a hologram giving him compliments. So clearly he's egotistical, right? You mean to tell me he doesn't have any pictures around? Right? He should definitely have pictures of himself around in his house. They should have known immediately. They should have already known. That should have been common knowledge, at least for the people that are around, or at least for the people who clean his place. They should know that it's his. Their bosses or whatever should have known or something. But whatever, that's nonsense. One of them, Damon, I think his name was, the dumb one, that's going to fuck the whole thing up and end up in jail. He used to work at Geek Squad or something, so that's their explanation as to how they can shut down the security cameras and LeBron James won't be able to check on his mansion while he's on a retreat. It's like... It's like, come on, man. This is the flimsiest fucking writing. So then they get the party ready. He's driving around in LeBron James' car. uh, tailoring his suits so that they could wear them at the party. They're breaking stuff and messing up his mansion. They're gonna have to pay for that. That's gonna come out of the money they're gonna get. This undisclosed amount of money that they never say. So you never know. I mean, at least if you knew that it was a ridiculous amount of money that they needed, you'd be like, okay, I understand why they're this desperate to do this. That's definitely going to put them in jail. It's still dumb, but at least you could kind of understand. But no, they don't say. You have celebrities pop up. Other than Kid Cudi and that little side mission with the Illuminati that they do, completely pointless. Lil Wayne comes in to say one line. The guy that played the Black Ranger, he comes in because I guess he had a free afternoon. Just DC Young Fly, Instagram celebrities, they come in to not be funny. He gets high. Whenever he gets high, he thinks it's another time. It's not funny. Other than some of the songs that they're playing, the movie's not fun at all. Number 8 is going to be Scream 6. I didn't hate this as much as Scream 5. I haven't liked any of these movies since Scream 4. But I still don't like it. It starts off interesting, right? You got some stuff with, I think her name was Sam, the main girl here. Cindy Prescott's not even in this. Not even in this one. You got some interesting stuff there where people think that she's the actual killer because she's related to Billy Loomis. That's stupid shit, but I still don't like that. But some interesting stuff where people think that she's the actual killer and not actually a survivor, so she's getting hate online and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting. They don't go anywhere with it. The killers get revealed right at the beginning and then get killed by the real killers. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, you're doing something new here. Ends up being nothing. And it's so forced, right? When they do these little meta conversations with the twins, who are still not that great of characters, they're better than they were in the 5th one. All the other characters, other than I think their names are Sam and Tara, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, who apparently aren't going to be in the next one. Hopefully this just dies out. But other than them, the other characters are just there to be suspected or killed. I mean, it's the same Scream tropes. But they go into this whole thing about movies and horror movies and things like that and suspecting people and things. It feels forced. Courtney Cox comes back, Gail Weathers. She gets stabbed. You think she's dead. She's not. Characters get stabbed towards the end and they're just perfectly fine. One of the twins gets stabbed in the stomach and then she's jumping around and everything within like a matter of hours, probably, or an hour, something like that. It's unreal. I mean, it's insulting at this point. What's his name? Chad, who was supposed to die in the last movie, got stabbed multiple times. He's perfectly fine after being stabbed multiple times again in this movie. Kirby, Hayden Panettiere, she comes back from Scream 4. She was supposed to have died in Scream 4. She came back. She's an FBI agent. Who cares? It's unnecessary. There's a shrine to all these all the other Scream movies, other Ghostface killers. So people suspect that it's her. It turns out to not be her. I thought that was going to be predictable if it was her. Turns out to be the guy, the cop, and his kids. Somehow he was able to fake his daughter's death earlier on in the movie because she died to Ghostface. Turns out she actually didn't. That doesn't make sense how he's able to pull that off. It's not good. It's blatantly aping that reveal from the end of the 2nd movie, where it was Billy Loomis's mom, which I thought was a weak reveal, even though I liked that movie. But this is even worse. It doesn't make any sense at all. And other than the kills, the kills that actually happen, where people can actually die and they're not immortal somehow, are pretty good. But other than that, and then the interesting stuff towards the beginning. Other than that, it's just lazy tropes and I don't see why we're still doing this. I really don't know. Anyway, number 7 is Meg II. Meg II is barely a sequel to the first Meg movie. It is as stupid as all fuck, pretty much from the beginning, with Jason Statham, who's just a diver in the first movie. Now he takes on eco-terrorists and he kicks all kinds of ass. Same thing with Paige Kennedy's character. I don't remember who he was, who's just saying random nonsense and isn't funny, and Paige Kennedy's not good in the movie. He got mad at me. The actual actor got mad at me and was in my comments because I made fun of that character and said he wasn't good. Nothing personal, brother, but that character was getting on my last nerve. I don't know why he went from just a guy on a computer to now he's kicking ass. I guess because now it has to be Fast and Furious and they're taking on this enemy that's trying to like take over the company or whatever, the facility, to make money off some rocks. Okay. They get stuck down there in that trench and it just gets so dumb. Jason Statham is able to swim that deep underwater with no suit or anything to get to another part, and he just has like a nosebleed and passes out. Ah, it's stupid. Like they wanted to, I guess, because the first movie's so boring. I guess they wanted to kind of ramp it up. So like, yeah, let's borrow from Fast and Furious and let's completely ape from the Jurassic World movies. It feels like a Jurassic World movie, all the way down to having a fight between a friendly Meg and a giant octopus. Like pretty much apex predator stuff, like what they do at the end of the Jurassic World movies. I think they've done that in the end of just about all of them. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Jason Statham is a superhero. He just gets on I think he was on a jet ski, and he's just throwing those spears at the megalodons. These are giant sharks, right? Two of them were a huge problem for him in the first movie. He's just taking them out one by one with very little, very little problem. Number six, Fast X. This is a franchise that's dead. It should be done, but we have at least one more movie because this is a part one. And with this being a part one, it has horrible pacing because all the family, they don't feel like a family other than Roman and Tej, or Tyrese and Ludacris. But all the characters get split up after what is kind of a fun set piece with bad CGI. I can't remember where they were at, but where that bomb, the ball, they were trying to stop it or whatever. Uh, they all get split up and they're on the run because they get blamed for the thing that they prevented from happening. Whatever. So they're all in different locations having misadventures. Tyrese and them are with Pete Davidson at one point. John Cena, the brother from the last movie, who's been converted, obviously, to just being part of the family. I mean, he is a family member, even though he looks nothing like Dom or his sister. Uh, but he has to protect Dom's son, so they're going on their little misadventures. They're in a plane, they're in a boat, they're doing all kinds of things, listening to "Good Vibrations" by Marky Mark in the car and jamming out to it. And it's like, okay, well, we're getting to the plot at some point, right? No. Brie Larson's terrible in it. And she's doing her little investigation. She's part of the agency, and the agency's going after them now too. So she's working outside of the agency to help them. She's not good. She's miscast. Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez, they're getting into it. They're at some facility in the snow, I think, or something like that, doing whatever they're doing. They get in a fight and then they want to work together to leave or something. Cypher and Letty. And Dom is the only one really dealing with Jason Momoa's character, who's a complete joke. Right? Even when he does something intimidating, you can never take him seriously. But he has a lot of charisma whenever he's acting with Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel, you can say family as much as you want to. The dude is a robot. Like at this point, RoboCop shows more emotion than Vin Diesel. But yeah, I couldn't take Jason Momoa seriously. He's jumping around and being all weird and making noises and talking to dead bodies, wearing crazy outfits. You can't take it seriously. He's on this little vengeance mission. He's not taking it serious at all. He's a madman, but not in a intimidating way at all. This stuff that doesn't make sense too. Like the guy that's heading up the agency now that Mr. Nobody's missing. He turns out to be working with Jason Momoa. And it's like, well, and he was with them during the whole Fast Five stuff when Jason Momoa's father was killed or died. And it's like, okay, how long has he been part of the agency though? He worked his way up to pretty much almost the top. This whole time he was working for Jason Momoa, or did he turn against the agency and start working for them? But he did it like years ago. Okay. The worst part about it is the pacing and the fact that it's all over the place with all these characters. Instead of just having them in one place and dealing with one thing, and it's just so that we can hold things off, so that we can set up Jason Momoa still being the villain in the next movie. Whatever. There's some cool action moments and things like that, but the writing is just that bad. I think they brought back Gal Gadot's character. Didn't that happen? Am I imagining that? They just don't care. They just don't care. You know what? I don't care either. Man, this is the 10th fucking movie, man. We're not done. We're still not done, man. Vin Diesel? Ugh. He's the main one who wants to keep these things going. I get it's a check, but damn, move on. Anyway, number five, Little Mermaid. So Little Mermaid 2023, the live action remake. I hate Disney live action remakes. If one comes out, it's almost guaranteed to be on my worst list. Little Mermaid is torture. It's one of those live action remakes where it's pretty much the same story, but they changed it around a little bit, and it's not done as nearly as well. Javier Bardem Great actor. He's terrible in this. He clearly doesn't want to be here. This is a check. Holly Bailey, she's not, that she hasn't been acting for that much or whatever. So I can give her a little bit of a pass. And she's a great singer. She does great with these songs. But her and Javier Bardem, they give the worst performances in this. I thought it was going to be Melissa McCarthy. No, no, no. It's those two. They are so emotionless when they talk. Javier Bardem never speaks above this, right? Even when these big moments from the original movie, like when he destroys a grotto, he's like, "You'll never leave again. Oh, you went to the surface world." Like, what's going on? Aren't you mad? Speak up. It's nonsense. There's things I didn't even mention in my review where they changed some things where Ariel forgets about the deal during it, which makes it harder for her to actually be able to do it, like get the kiss and be on the surface forever. Completely unnecessary, and means nothing. When it came up, I was thinking, wait a minute, she can still talk to Sebastian and Scuttle. So couldn't they just remind her anytime she forgot? So when you added that for no reason. Triton and Ursula are related now. Apparently that was something that was, I guess, deleted from the original movie. So I guess they included it here. Included it here for no reason. They do nothing with it. They don't really fully go into her being banished and all that. Like really, maybe show some flashbacks or something. They don't do anything with it. Why is it there? Right? The whole thing with the prince, and you get to see what the prince is good in the movie, and the romance actually is well developed for the most part. I actually did like that part. That's the one addition or the one change that I liked, is that they developed the romance a little bit more. But the prince, he's talking to his mom, like his mom's, who knows where his dad is. He's talking to his mom and things like that. She doesn't care about the sea or anywhere other than their kingdom, I guess, and he's trying to change her mind. That's unnecessary. It's really there so we can get a song from the prince. And the guy can sing. Forgettable song. Pretty much all the new songs are forgettable. You get that Scuttle song, because Scuttle's Aquafina, who's annoying as hell. And so you get Aquafina doing this little rap and squawking and thing. Scuttlebutt, 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 which was torturous to listen to. It's terrible. There's another change where Little Mermaid actually, Ariel was the one that actually stabbed Ursula with the boat. And Ursula looks terrible, by the way, when she gets the trident. Really bad, really bad. I can't even complain about the movie being too dark. It's good it's dark in that moment. Because a lot of the CGI isn't good under the water and things like that. It's not very good. But yeah, they have Ariel be the one to steer the boat into Ursula. So it's like, what's the point of the prince even being there during that moment then? I don't know. Anyway, that's Little Mermaid. I never want to think about that movie again. So number 4 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So Indiana Jones 5. At the point where your lead, your action star lead, is 80 years old, I think he's around 80, maybe that's the time that it should definitely be over, right? So, he's old. Of course, we had the whole thing where the hero from before is old and he's alone, he's sad. Things, as much as Crystal Skull's a bad movie, and that shouldn't have been made either. It ends off okay, right? Him and Marion are married. He's there with his kid, Shia LaBeouf, who I actually thought Shia LaBeouf might actually like his character. I know a lot of people don't. I actually liked his character. That's a pretty good way to end things if you're going to do it. You could have ended it with Last Crusade, but if you're going to do it, you can do it that way. But no, Mutt's dead. Marion left him because Mutt died and couldn't get over it. So yeah, he's alone and all that. We start off even before that with that shitty ass deep fake young Indiana Jones, which feels like Last Crusade. It feels like it could have been fun with him on the train and everything like that, but his face was really distracting. It's some of the worst de-aging I've ever seen, because he looks kind of decent whenever he's not moving. The minute he starts moving, this is an old video game. I mean, it really does, and it goes on for way too long. Full-on action scenes with him in that fake face, right? I didn't even say about this. A lot of people kept pointing this out. He still has the same voice. He still sounds like an old man. It's so bad. But then the rest of it, there's some decent set pieces and stuff. There's a chase on a horse that was pretty good. The thing at the auction where what's her name? Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character. I think it was Wombat. Was it Wombat? You sure it wasn't Fleabag? No, I'm kidding. I think it was Wombat. Um, his goddaughter was never mentioned. Her dad was never mentioned before, but whatever. It's a new thing for this. She's auctioning off the other half of the Dial of Destiny, and then it gets chaotic. People pull out guns. It turns into a chase scene, and Mads Mikkelsen's there, and he's chasing them as well. That was kind of fun, but for the most part, it is boring as fuck. That's what got it so far down here, is that it's so boring. It has that deep fake shit in the beginning, and then the ending is crazy. But I mean, it really is repetitive. They get to a place, they find something, the villains pop up, they capture them, they get away from the villains, go to the next place. It happens all over again, over and over and over again. It was driving me nuts. And the movie's long too. It was. I couldn't deal with it, man. It was so generic. It's so generic. Your action star he can barely do action. So this is unnecessary. Yeah, I just didn't care about the dial. It looks like a cheap prop, like I said in the review. And being able to see fissures in time, that could mean just about anything. I did not think it would go all the way to time traveling. I got this wrong in my original review. Apparently, the person that he wanted to kill, to go back in time to kill, I think his name was Waller, Mads Mikkelsen, was Hitler. He wants to kill Hitler so that he can replace Hitler. By going back in time and killing Hitler, I guess all the Nazis would be like, I guess you're the Führer now. I guess you're leading things now. Because yeah, that's how that would work. But they go back in time and it becomes schlock, complete schlock, man. It becomes ridiculous, almost to the point of being fun, but it's just so fucking batshit dumb. So they go back in time. They get to 214 BC. Archimedes is there. He's the one who created the dial or whatever, and they end up in 214 BC because Archimedes didn't know about continental drift or whatever, so that's where they end up. And the Roman soldiers and things, there's a war going on. They start throwing spears at the plane because they think it's a dragon. And the really crazy part is that the Nazis that work for Waller, that work for Mads Mikkelsen, they actually start shooting back down at those people. It's like, what the fuck? I guess they're attacking us, so let's kill them. Let's shoot at the Roman soldiers that are attacking us in the past right now. It is crazy. And then they end up crashing or they die. And Indiana Jones just wants to stay there, which I didn't understand. I guess people have said that, oh, he wants to stay back there because this is history happening. But it's like, yeah, but he has a mortal wound. And they're not going to be able to fix it. So even if he does stay back in time, back in history, whatever, with Archimedes, how long would he even last? What would be the point if he's gonna die in a matter of hours? Yeah, it's largely pretty boring. The beginning part could be something, but his face is too fake, and the ending is insane. It's like somebody just came up with something and nobody said no. But whatever. Number 3 is The Exorcist Believer. This would be number 1 if we were talking about just blatant cash grabs, because they have Ellen Burstyn come back, the mother from the original one and everything, and she barely does anything. She gets stabbed in the eyes and spends most of the movie in a hospital bed and has horrible dialogue. The movie actually starts off pretty good because it has a pretty good. It has this whole thing about choice that's kind of a common theme that gets set up with the mom dying in the beginning. The daughter, I think her name was Angela, the black girl. The other girl doesn't matter. Her parents are annoying. But I liked the main dad and daughter relationship. Reminded me of Reagan and her mom from the original. They felt that they were real close to it. It was sad to see how things turned out when she ended up getting possessed. And there was some really good tension with them in the house, because anytime she's not on screen, it's like, okay, what is she doing, right? And I thought that was actually effective. Cinematography works for the most part, and direction. It worked in those moments. But then they got fully possessed, and you get to see that makeup that they do for them, where their faces are all swelled up and everything. You hear the voice, the demon voice coming out of them, just like in the original, and it is not believable at all. The makeup looks bad. They look ridiculous. And that voice, it never feels like it's coming out of those girls. I was laughing at the shit. It was so ridiculous, right? It was so ridiculous. And then you get the cash grab bullshit with Ellen Burstyn's character, the mom from the original. And then you get all these different religions coming together, Avengers style, to take care of these demons in this final exorcism at the end. The mom from the original movie is an expert on exorcisms. As somebody who wasn't even in the room for the exorcism of her daughter, it's stupid nonsense that's just there to get people in the theater. But there's a priest in this, barely has a character, and then he dies, so he's meaningless. It's just them all standing around in a circle looking ridiculous, just yelling at the girls as they look even more ridiculous than them. And so I'm laughing the whole time. Barely anybody in the theater, but one dude was like, "Oh my god!" Like something was actually happening. I don't know who he's pretending for. I almost wanted to like tell him right there. I was like, "Man, really?" But anyway, terrible, terrible movie. By the end of it, even though I liked the whole thing about choice and I kind of liked the payoff of that, it ended up being pretty stupid. Number two, this is where we get to the real shittiness. So, Expendables 4. People were talking about, oh, this is one of the worst movies of the year. Da, da, da. I was like, okay, even though I haven't seen the other Expendables movies, I'll go take a look at it. And man, I could not believe how bad this movie is. So, other than the hand-to-hand stuff with Jason Statham, mainly with Jason Statham, because it's mainly his movie, the movie goes out of its way to make sure that the other characters can't do something so that Jason Statham can get his little shine in. But the other than that, pretty much everything else is as bad as it could possibly be. So these characters, they have obviously there's going to be banter between the characters, right? To develop their relationships and things like that. The banter is fucking terrible. Some of the worst lines I've heard in movies like this. One of the characters just talking about sexual stuff. Hey, what you guys know about a golden shower? There's one like joke that somebody said about 50 Cent's character because his name's Easy Day. It's some joke. The only easy day was yesterday or some bullshit like that. Or it's just some really obvious stuff. Dolph Lundgren's wearing a wig. Hey man, what's up with the wig? And then they talk about the wig for a little bit. Terrible. Most of the actors don't seem like they really want to be there. The ones that can actually act. 50 Cent and Megan Fox are horrible. They're struggling to get pretty much any line that they have out. Megan Fox is one of the biggest examples of miscasting I've probably ever seen. Not only is she part of the team, but she's leading the team. And she doesn't look like she's killed anyone, like she's going to kill anyone. I think she kills one person in the movie. It's not believable. She looks like she's about to take pics for Instagram. That's it, right? The lady is hot, but let's finally just say it. She can't fucking act. There was the whole thing about the whole Mortal Kombat thing where she plays one of the characters in the newest Mortal Kombat game. I saw clips of that. She's fucking terrible in that. She's a bad actress. I've been saying it for years. She's a terrible actress. She's one of the worst actresses in Hollywood. But 50 Cent barely talking above this the whole time and sounding completely unconvincing with every line that he gives. You're not invested in what's going on, the actual, what the villains are trying to do. There's a nuke involved, and they're trying to break someone from prison. The guy that's kind of like giving the Expendables orders, he turns out to be the villain. Stallone dies early on, but he had faked his death by putting the person that he had an issue with in the bar in the beginning in the plane. So it's like, okay, so you just killed that man just because you didn't like him. You just killed him so that you could fake your death. These are the heroes. But whatever. The movie looks horrible. Everything, even when they're not in an action scene, they always look like they're on the most obvious green screen you could ever see. There's a lot of blood in it. The blood effects look bad. The characters will fall down from some place, or their body will kind of like split up or explode or something, and that looks fake. The explosions look fake. There's a part where Stallone's flying the planes before he fakes his death, and it's just the fakest plane ever with like a bunch of explosions around him that also look fake. It looks like it was done decades and decades and decades ago. It is embarrassing. You have just time traveled watching that shit. It looks horrible, and it's not directed all that well other than the hand-to-hand stuff. You can get behind that, but for the most part, it's lame. Even the action. It feels like a lame parody of a movie like this, but whatever. All right, so number one. This has been number one ever since I saw it. I put that it was the worst movie of the year in the title of the review, so I called it even back then, and I still stand behind it. The worst movie of the year, a movie that shouldn't have been made and damn sure shouldn't have been in no theaters, is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's the Winnie the Pooh based horror movie where you have what is obviously two men just wearing a cheap ass Winnie the Pooh and a pig mask, and the hands are clearly gloves. It's very obvious. It never tricks you into thinking that this is actually Winnie the Pooh or Piglet. It's embarrassing. They clearly didn't have the money, and that's also why, even though Rabbit and Owl are also supposed to be there, they ate Eeyore, but Rabbit and Owl are also supposed to be there. There's no Rabbit and Owl in the movie, and there's no explanation of it. They couldn't afford the costumes for them. But it starts off with bad acting right from the beginning, right? They're trying with the cinematography, but it's too dark and it doesn't look all that great, but whatever, they're trying. The acting is horrible. The guy that's playing Christopher Robin, his line delivery is bad. It's emotionless. He's not good. I don't know. I think I looked at what other things these people have been in. Not great stuff. Barely anything really. And it shows. Him and his fiance, they get attacked by Pooh and Piglet, and Piglet kills his fiance as he's just standing there screaming instead of trying to stop it or even being a coward and running away. He's just standing there. It's like, okay, what kind of direction we got going on here? And then he's being tortured for most of the movie after that, and we're only focusing on, or mainly focusing on, these group of girls, these random group of girls. One of them, the lead one, she had a stalker break into her place years ago, and so she's getting therapy for it. And so when Pooh goes after her, she assumes that it's her stalker again. That's it. That's the entire point of that storyline and that character. But we focus on them anyway. They can't act either, and they're just kind of being picked off, and you don't care. You don't care at all. The kills could be kind of entertaining, but the blood effects are so fake looking. It all looks fake. There's a girl that gets put in a wood chipper, the one that was dumb enough to not know where she's going, so she just wanders around the woods on her phone. It's like, how about you go towards the fucking houses? But whatever. She gets put down a wood chipper, and put in a wood chipper, and then the blood spraying out. None of it looks real at all. At all. And then there's the scene where the girl, some other girl, the blonde, she gets run over by a car. Somehow, Pooh and Piglet, I guess they know how to drive cars. Cool. She gets run over by a car, and you see her eye pop out of socket and stuff like that. And it almost gets a reaction out of you until you see the blood spraying out of her face. It's real fake looking. It's real bad. There's some bees that look bad too. Pretty much all the effects look bad. You didn't have the money for it. I don't know why you didn't just use real, like, fake blood or whatever. Instead of using, CGI blood. It looks really horrible. I can't say enough how much it was obvious that these are just people in costumes. There's a scene where he's looking at himself in the mirror, Pooh, and you can see that there's a guy in there. You can see it. You can see it. It's so bad. The best part of the movie is the beginning part with the animation, where it's showing like, oh, Christopher Robin became friends with them, and then he went off to college. There was a bad winter, they starved, they ended up eating Eeyore, and now they hate humans because Christopher Robin left them to that fate. And it's like, okay, cool, they're kind of cannibals, I guess, even though they don't seem to be, but whatever, okay. Christopher Robin's gonna come back, and he's gonna realize what they've become and maybe have to kill them by the end or something, right? I'm thinking it's going to be Christopher Robin, his fiance, and maybe a couple of his college buddies. Not these random girls that I don't care about at all, while Christopher Robin is just being strung up and tortured, and we're focusing on them for some reason. Characters you do not care about. They die and you don't care at all. The movie is so devoid of logic. It's crazy. I know that sounds crazy for me to say, but there's no logic in this at all. Like, there's a point where he slaps this one girl multiple times, right? And all she gets is like a little gash or whatever, a little something on her cheek. Later on, he smacks the guy that was attacking them. Some dudes started attacking them to protect the girls, and he slaps him one good time and takes half that dude's face off with one slap. I was like, okay, well, this girl should be dead from getting slapped that many times by Pooh. But no, she didn't, of course. Piglet, who at least with Pooh, like, you can kind of tell it's Pooh. With this one, it's just like they're wearing the most generic pig mask you could find at whatever store was nearby. But Piglet gets killed by one of the girls with a sledgehammer. I was like, okay, so they can die. Okay. But Pooh seems to be immortal. Gets jumped by those guys. They have weapons and everything. Gets up. He's perfectly fine. I think at one point he got hit by a car. He's perfectly fine. So Pooh was immortal for no reason, but I guess Piglet wasn't. This is a stupid fucking movie. Like I said, I don't know how they can drive cars. I don't know how they would have learned that or operate machinery. It just, it's nonsense, man. It's nonsense. Absolutely atrocious. And still, to me, the worst movie of 2023. That is my best and worst of 2023. Hopefully, this coming up year, we're gonna have some real good stuff. Maybe even some real bad stuff that we can laugh at. But yeah, that's it. We're in 2024 now. Anyway, yeah, I'm done.